got a great friend, colleague, and overall badass therapist, Paulie Siegel, today. Before we get started, Paulina, excuse me, I want to give a shout out to Levin Delico, who is kicking ass and taking names while delivering food to the Denver Metro Police and Denver Health through all the people that are out on the front line really fighting COVID and making sure we're safe and good. So thank you, Levin. Food is amazing. Everybody check it out. Awesome. Paulina, welcome, my love. How are you?
Thank you. I am so good. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Please, if you could, introduce yourself. Let people know who you are, how you separate yourself from the pack in the terms of the therapeutic world. That'd be a great place to start.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Paulie Siegel. I have a private practice in Denver. It's in the Wash Park neighborhood, and it's a specialized practice, primarily serving Gen Z and Millennials, anyone 15 to 40 years of age. I picked a very narrow niche because Gen Z and Millennials are struggling uniquely. They do not struggle in the same way that Gen X and Boomers did. And so I wanted to create a practice that caters to these two generations and allows them to thrive and flourish in ways where a tailored approach is required. I think a lot of these two generations show up in life differently. We navigate life differently. And so we need to approach them differently. So it's been really awesome to have this private practice.
Well, we're so glad you're providing that support for those generations. Coming from that generation, I understand. I mean, we struggle just as similar as and not in many ways with any other generation, but I feel like for what we're stating, what we're saying now at this point, I feel like with everything that's been going on, I feel like that's definitely a population more so than anyone, not saying that other people don't need help, but really need it right now in this moment. So, so glad you're here. And as the title states, today we're really going to dive into how to kick COVID's ass. Like, kick its ass, right? Because realistically, it is a terrible disease. People are dying. Things have changed. Our life is going to be different now. And that's we need to accept in a lot of ways. So today we really want to talk about 3 tips on how to reduce anxiety, regain balance, and literally say, fuck you, COVID, because it's not going to own our lives anymore. We're at this point, we're at this point where it feels like we can manage a bit better than we might have when this all started. So, Paulie, if you could, please, just let's dive right into it. What's
okay? Awesome. Tip? So, before I jump into the tips, I want to kind of echo what you've said, because at first we were in shock. We were in denial. Everyone was in panic mode. And now after about, a month and a few days, we're in this new normal. We're at least trying to calibrate and create some homeostasis. But even though we're centering ourselves a little bit more than in the beginning, people are still really struggling with anxiety and stress. I mean, we have the media that's just blasting doom and gloom. And it's hard not to chime into those media sources because we want to be informed individuals and we want to stay on top of things. But at the same time, it can just create a lot of internal chaos. And that storm within all of us is building. And I wanted to create a tip sheet, specifically for my Gen Zers and Millennials, to be able to, again, reduce the stress and anxiety, regain that balance, that homeostasis, and really kind of say to COVID, fuck you. Like, I can still create a really meaningful life right now, and I don't have to be drowning in suffering. And so today, as Eliot said, we're going to work through those tips. I'm hoping they'll be tangible and that every single person has a little gift to take home with them that they can start implementing to start regulating in ways that maybe you aren't as of right now. This tip sheet, I'm just going to hold up a hard copy of it. So it's it's hard to center it right there. You have access to this tip sheet if you send Eliot or myself an email within the title just saying COVID tip sheet. We'll send that over to you ASAP. So please reach out. I know it takes a little extra work to send an email, but I want you to have these tips that you can refer to.
Absolutely.
So tip number 1, which I know you can't visually see this, but you'll get it in an email, is focus on what's in your control. Focus on what's in your control. Now, this kind of seems like a no-brainer, like, yeah, duh. There's a lot of things that we don't control right now. I mean, physically, economically, emotionally, socially, we've been impacted by this virus. And a lot of this is out of our control. And again, the media is just making it worse by promoting the doom and gloom. And so what I mean by this tip is I want people to start looking at what can I do behavior wise to make my life more lively right now, right? People are bored. They're stuck at home. We're still in quarantine. Now, I know that lifts in Colorado on Sunday, but that doesn't mean that everyone's out and about. We still have to be at home for a good portion of the day to stay safe. So just because quarantine's done doesn't mean that we're not going to still feel boredom. And so with that, I want to invite everyone to start looking at what can you do behavior wise? What actions can you take that serve you right now? And that's all you really can control. You can control what you do, how you do it, and when you do it. And that's really all that's tangible right now.
Totally.
So one question you can ask yourself, and what I'll have you guys do is when you wake up in the morning, I want you to ask yourself this question and create a concrete plan as follows. So you'll ask yourself, what can I do today? What are 3 things I can do today that serve my mental health and my overall well-being? And what that is up to you. All of us have different hobbies and enjoyments and activities that we like to engage in. So if I ask myself that question, what are 3 things I can do today to nourish my mental health and overall well-being? I would go on a walk with my dog, which I actually did with my mom, an hour ago. I would make sure to take a moment to pause and read. I love reading. Everyone who knows me well is I'm a big science gal and I love reading research articles, but that, provides nourishment for me.
Absolutely.
A third thing I would do is a meditation. I'm a huge mindfulness practitioner, and every single day I do at least a 20 to 25-minute meditation. So those are 3 things that work for me, but it's an individualized approach. So I'm going to put Eliot on the spot. What are 3 things you would do today to nourish your mental health?
I love it. Before I answer this question, Jess Barry just said, hello, love bugs. And I want to say, I love you, Jess Barry. You're a wonderful human.
Amen. She's the best.
Literally.
Shout out Sandstone Care. We love you.
Yes, absolutely. Sandstone as is. And I just got a comment from one of my partners, Jen Clark, who says morning Zoom workouts, which she literally just took the words out of my mouth. So, first thing I do every single morning without rest, depending how I'm feeling. Wake up at 9 a.m., always. Roll my ass out of bed, get working out with a group of people that I care for, appreciate, and love so much in my life. And we work out hard. So we work out from 9 to 11:30-ish most days of the week. And to me, rejuvenation, mindfulness, sense of self, all of that in that moment. Exercise, exercise, exercise. 100%. Next thing I usually do is I'll have some self-care. So I'll make myself an incredible meal, something protein heavy, something that really, again, nourishes my soul after a super hard workout, drinking lots of water, carbon up, just making sure I'm nourishing. After that, shower, right? gotta feel good. Gotta recharge, a nice steamed shower just to me feels incredible. And it's a nice way of really just getting back to myself. It's a great place to think, a great place to ponder, a great place to just kind of be ready for the day. Then what I'll do usually, just depending on how I'm feeling, is I'll just take a breath of fresh air, go outside. I got a great patio, stick my head out there, say hallelujah, thank God I'm living, right? A little bit of a mantra goes a long way. And I don't know if anybody out there, thumbs up if you do, practices a mantra, but to me, it just brings such a sense of relaxation and motivation to get my day going. So those are the 3 things I do in a day to kick COVID ass.
I love it.
Yeah.
Right, but as we can see, my answer was really different than Eliot's. So there's no right or wrong here. I think, again, tip number 1, do what's in your control. Ask yourself, what behaviors or actions can I take today that nourish my mental health and my overall well-being? And create that action plan in the morning so that you can conquer the day with strength. And then at the end, feel really good. Like, all right, I did my 3 things that help me, that keep me centered. So that's tip number 1. Should we move on to tip number 2?
Yeah, I want to just really hit on a couple things that came to mind while we were talking about tip 1. One, being a DBT and CBT practitioner, anybody doesn't know what that is, let me know in the comments. Be happy to explain it further. Thinking about skills that we can use in those moments, radical acceptance, thought diffusion, some of these things that are in our brain that we're in our head and we just don't know how to get through sometimes yet. If we can really tangibly think about some of these skills and put them forward in a day-to-day routine, I think, we can really try to conquer that day, like you're saying, and really feel good about what we're doing. So yeah, let's move on to tip 2.
Okay. Tip number 2 is acknowledge unpleasant thoughts and feelings. Seems simple, but it's actually more complex. So I'll break it down for everyone who's viewing. Again, thank you everyone for chiming in. I know people are working at home and there's a lot on their plate. So thank you for taking time to be with me and Eliot today. Tip number 2, acknowledge unpleasant thoughts and feelings. So this one is really using a mindfulness lens. Every single day we have unpleasant thoughts or unpleasant emotions that pop up, right? An unpleasant thought might be, I can't handle this anymore. I just need to go to happy hour. An unpleasant thought could be, gosh, I haven't worked out in weeks. I hate how my body looks. An unpleasant thought could be, I haven't seen my friends. I feel like, I'm losing the people I love dearly, right? These are thoughts that are popping into people's heads every day in quarantine. And they're not fun, and they don't evoke comfortable emotions. Let me put it that way. On the emotional side of things, people are feeling bored, scared, anxious, stressed, lonely, isolated, all the yucky stuff that no one wakes up in the morning and says, like, I can't wait to feel anxiety. Like, that's said by no one ever, right? It's said by no one ever.
Right.
And so what we want to do is bring a little bit of acceptance and awareness that these unpleasant thoughts and emotions are going to surface. It's just how this goes. It's the name of the game. And so if we can start to notice the thought and notice the unpleasant emotion and create a little space for it, we then don't struggle with it as much. So let me kind of identify the struggle. Naturally, as humans, we want to avoid discomfort. We are biologically wired to avoid emotional discomfort and physical discomfort. So anything that feels yucky, the brain is biologically programmed to go, uh-oh, get rid of this. Do everything you can to numb, to distract, to avoid, to survive. And so although that seems logical, like, yeah, I don't want to feel shitty stuff, like that's a no-brainer. What happens is the more we pull away from our unpleasant experience, we then engage in unhelpful behavior, typically. So when I don't want to feel, sometimes I find myself just aimlessly scrolling on social media. Does that serve my mental health? Absolutely not, right? It leads to social comparison. It makes me question myself. It makes me wonder if my life is living up to my standards. And so we engage in activities as a way to avoid the experience, but the activities aren't helpful. I'll be vulnerable. When I'm anxious, I use food. But if I keep using food as a way to cope, right, there's problems that follow from that. Or look at sales in alcohol right now. It's out of control. Like, people are boozing it up because they're bored and they feel like crap, and alcohol and substances numb our experience. So as you can see, we engage in activities that are problematic. So what we want to do is kind of create a new relationship with our unpleasant thoughts and emotions. We want, in some ways, to make it an ally. And by doing so, it changes our experience of struggle. So I'm just going to kind of refer to the tip sheet for a moment.
Yes, please.
And read it, just because I don't have it memorized. But it says, take the stance of a curious scientist and non-judgmentally observe these thoughts and emotions as they pop up. We can notice our thoughts and emotions without attachment by simply allowing them to pass like clouds in the sky. Once you acknowledge your internal experience, connect to your physical body by slowly pressing your feet into the ground while focusing on your breath for at least 3 minutes. So the tip here is, once we notice the unpleasant thought or emotion, what we want to do is get grounded in our body, because our body is an anchor. Our thoughts is where chaos ensues. Always. This is like a rule of thumb here. Totally. So when I notice the thought of, gosh, I've gained so much weight and I hate the way I look, I'm going to notice the thought and immediately press my feet into the ground as an anchor and connect to my breath for at least 3 minutes. That's a really beautiful way to move through discomfort versus struggling with it by numbing, distracting, and avoiding, which creates more consequences in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Eliot? I'm curious.
I'm just connecting because, I think a lot of the clients that I'm seeing right now are really kind of stuck in that mud and finding ways to ground themselves to recognize that it's just a thought, it's just a feeling. It's what we do with the behavior that makes the change has been the biggest struggle that I've been finding with working with the clients that I have. But in regards to this idea, it's like it's thought diffusion 101, right? You're taking a cloud, you're visualizing, you're taking a leaf, you're taking something and you're putting a thought or a feeling on it, and then you're watching it go away, which really in practice, seems a little bit harder than it is. But if you actually can do that and center yourself and allow yourself to be in that place to accept that, it's extremely helpful.
Absolutely.
1,000 times over. And it's, and it's hard now to do that when there is so much distraction literally right here. When anything and everything's coming into play in 2 seconds. I mean, I have a smartwatch too. It's like I'm constantly, what do you do? Why? Why are you looking? Why are you doing this? Why are you distracting yourself? Why are you moving in this place of, I don't want to feel some of these emotions, feelings, thoughts that are negative, but really, like you're saying, lean into them.
Lean in. And it's going to feel counterintuitive. You're going to notice your biology say, no, don't do it. This is unsafe, but it's safe. Emotions and thoughts are temporary. None of these uncomfortable experiences are permanent. They never will be. It's a wave. Emotion comes out from the deep of the sea, peaks, crashes, and goes back out. That's our experience in life. And so if we can start viewing it as, let me surf this wave, even if it's big, even if it's scary, let me surf it. Yeah. Feel it.
Surfing.
We're gonna struggle less. I know some people might not believe me, but give it a try. Tip number 2, acknowledge the unpleasant experience, notice it. It's like clouds passing in the sky. Connect to your body, dig your feet and toes into the floor and connect to your breath. And I guarantee you will feel some relief.
Right.
And if you don't, I shouldn't make guarantees as a mental health professional. That's dangerous.
we will 99.99% guarantee.
Yeah.
Like our mother said.
I am curious. If anyone's willing to post, I on my end can't see who's live and joining us, by the way. It's only Eliot. So I don't know who's viewing right now. So if I'm not shouting out to you, I promise I'm not ignoring it. I just can't see it. So post, what is it like when maybe you be vulnerable? What activities do you engage in that are unhelpful? Whether it's food or booze or gaming or Netflix binges, we all do it. It's part of the human element. Post. Let's hear it. I would just love to see what people are struggling with. And then if you have any experience with mindfulness, what's it like to connect to your breath? What's it like to plant your feet into the earth? I'm curious if people will post about that too. So feel free to do that, even though we're still moving along.
Yeah, do that live, do it after the fact, reach out to us, let us know. Yep. And in the comment section at the end of this, we'll post our emails and information so you can contact either of us really easily.
Yep, to access this tip sheet because it's tangible for you all.
Thank you so much for that call out.
Sorry to interrupt. Anything else on tip number 2 we want to expand on before we move on?
I think we expanded on that beautifully. I think one thing that I've just recognized and realized is kind of the statistics that we're seeing every day and how hard that is, even for me, saying I struggle as a mental health practitioner, how hard it is to kind of work through those things. Just wanted to call that out. That's all.
Yeah.
Just to say like how hard it is to really make that work, but we're doing it. Let's move on to tip 3.
Tip number 3. I was gonna try to say it in Spanish, and then I've been watching Money Heist, which by the way is a great show, but it's all in Spanish. So now I'm like trying to pick it up and use it in moments. Anyways, okay. Tip number 3: identify your values and live by them. So people get very confused by what are values. What are they versus goals? So goals are something that have an end destination. Once you achieve it, you check it off the list. So a goal would be, I want to lose 15 pounds. A goal would be, I want to hike a 14er this summer. I want to travel to Spain and Italy. Don't do that now because it's dangerous. But at some point you should, because they're great countries. Right? It's something that we do, we finish it, we check it off, we move on. Values, on the other hand, you don't check them off. It's something that you live by. It's a guiding principle that moves you in the direction in what you care about, what's meaningful to you, what you prioritize, what's important in your life. So, for instance, if someone said, I value being a loving, caring partner, you don't just check that off and be like, all right, I'm off the hook. Now I can be a jerk, right? No, we want to live by that. We want to say, how can I be a loving, caring partner always? How do I cultivate that and carry it through my relationship with my person? So it's something that we live by. It's those guiding principles that move us in the direction. It's like moving in the direction of north. You never just get to the point of, okay, I found north. You just keep moving in that direction. And that's what values are. Now, one thing I want to point out is that people can sometimes get caught up in, oh my God, I have the wrong values. My values are bad.
Judging the value.
And really, values are individualized. We create them based on our own needs. We create them based on our lifestyle and a lot of variables. Oh, we have a long post. I don't know.
You can see it. I told you you could.
Well, no, I can't. I can see posts, but I can't see people chiming in.
Got you. All right. Well, do you want to keep on going and then we'll get to this?
Yeah, let me finish this one and then we'll comment on what Tammy said. I'm not forgetting about you, Tammy.
We got you, Tammy.
So, we got you, Tammy. Anyways, so I lost my train of thought. So where was I?
Values, incorporating
values.
your everyday life.
Oh, so people will say, God, I have bad values.
Right.
Well, there's no right or wrong here because it's individualized and it's based on our own internal variables. So like one of my biggest values is authenticity. A second huge value is humor. I have to be silly every single day or I lose a part of myself and my identity. So please be kind and gentle to yourself. There's no right or wrong here. So what we want to do in quarantine, and as we start to phase out of quarantine, based on what Jared Polis has said recently.
Damn it.
I know, it's scary. People are scared. Like, oh my God, do I go out? Do I not go out? Do I socialize? Do I not? But we want to be asking ourselves a few questions. So I'm going to go ahead and reference the tip sheet because I don't have it memorized.
Wonderful.
Is take some time to reflect on the following questions. How can you be kind, loving, and caring to yourself right now? What activities can you engage in that provide nourishment and stability? How can you show up for others in need right now? How can you contribute to the well-being of your community? These questions that I created are geared towards having you start identify your values, what you care about, what's meaningful to you, what you want to stand by, because that's what makes life meaningful and fulfilling, is when we live up to what's important to each and every one of us.
Every day.
So I'm just curious, like I'm gonna put Eliot again on the spot.
Do it.
And I'm just gonna pick a random one. He is not prepared. What activities can you engage in that provide nourishment and stability?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back to exercise for me. It's the number one thing in this moment and always has been, just even more so necessary at this point of quarantine. That really, literally, it's that something to wake up to. It's that something to make me feel good about my body. It's that something that creates this sense of community with all the people that I'm working out with. It really just, it fuels my soul, really. I mean, it's plain and simple as that. It's something like if I don't work out, I know I'm like, oh, fuck. Like something's going on, you know? So for me, it's anything and everything. Just starting the day like that, just feels so root, you know? And today I feel root right here.
I was waiting for that, everyone. It was just a matter of time until that was coming out.
Right? It's got to. But no, it's just, for me, that's number one right in this moment. What makes me feel most rejuvenated, most energized, most excited about the day, most everything and anything that has to do with about how kind of scary and terrible the situation now. When I'm exercising, shit goes all out the door, not as a distraction.
Yeah.
I want to differentiate that, but just as like
Yeah.
a easier way of centering myself, grounding myself, allowing myself to just be in that moment. Totally.
Absolutely. I'll throw another question out there because I think people can start commenting on these questions
Mm-hmm.
is, how can you contribute to the well-being of the community? One of the biggest things that I've seen is people making masks and donating them and stepping up to for hospitals, running food to nurses and doctors, even if it's placing it outside in the parking lot so they can just come grab it. I mean, this makes a difference for the community. It brings us together in a united way, and it's our values because most people want to be loving and kind to others. I very rarely hear someone say my value is to be an asshole. Like like that just I mean there's people out there.
Asshole.
It's just not common.
No.
Right? We want to be loving and supportive to people that need us to step up for them. So as you can see, I crafted these questions through that values lens. I'm curious, feel free to post, guys. What are you doing for the community? What are you doing to show up for others who are perhaps vulnerable right now? And really, what are you doing to be loving and kind and gentle with yourself? I know for me, this self-disclosure, like business has looked differently in this pandemic. And I would have thought logically, I would have had an influx of people calling, being like, I'm in a crisis, help.
Yeah.
But people are paralyzed right now and they're not moving and grooving as they typically would. And so I've had to be kind to myself and say, you know what? This isn't a representation of you, Paulina. Instead, it's just a tough time. And how can you be loving and kind even though business doesn't look perfect right now? Now, I'm used to having a full practice. If you talked to me a month ago, I had a wait list. So it's a weird transition for me because I have to change my mindset to see that the environment isn't the same and I have to adapt to that environment, but also not beat myself up about it because a lot of it's out of my control, right? Going back to tip number 1, I can't control whether people are seeking out mental health services, but I can step up and provide care the minute they do call. And that feels really good and is connected to my values.
Me too.
Yeah.
I know.
So I want to come back to Tammy's
Totally.
question because I want you to be like waiting for hours
We
here.
got you,
Okay.
Tammy.
So I find that I'm susceptible to all of the above, dot, 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 booze, food, binging shows. It can be very hard to reset. This time has allowed me the opportunity to make conscious choices that are healthier for me, like the Zoom workouts, walking in the park, connecting with people in the ways that I can right now. On Sunday, I had a wonderful ladies' night Zoom that left me feeling incredibly lifted afterwards. I still have my down moments, but I have tools that can be very helpful when I remember to be conscious of that.
Hell yeah.
I mean, that's the and then she wrote, "Sorry, so long." I'm glad you provide a detailed answer that's helpful for viewers because what you highlighted is the avoidance strategies, the booze, the food, the binging, the checking out strategies, and how they're not helpful. And then you answered, what can I do to provide nourish and stability? Right? Like I'm glad you took time to answer that
Thank
because
you.
it shows people we don't have to struggle and we don't have to suffer, but we have to engage in things that are helpful right now.
Yeah, I mean, Tammy owned that there's moments that are hard, and then owned that there's things that she can do to get out of that, and really
Right.
represented. I mean, the 3 tips that we've provided today, 100%. I mean that's like perfect, really.
Yeah.
In regards to what that looks like.
It's awesome. So I'll just do a quick recap. Tip number 1 is focus on what is in your control. Ask yourself every morning, what are 3 things I can do to nourish my mental health and overall well-being? And then follow suit. Create that concrete plan that allows you to wake up, conquer the day, engage in activities that serve you, that are helpful to you, that provide that stability. And then you can go to bed, happy. You can go to bed and said, I showed up for myself today, which is beautiful. And we can all smile when we go to bed thinking that.
Exactly.
Tip number 2, acknowledge unpleasant thoughts and emotions. Again, we're in a really funky time right now, and you're gonna feel uncomfortable. Let's name the elephant in the room. You're gonna have unpleasant thoughts, unpleasant emotions. Thank you, Tammy. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
We're going to feel discomfort It's part of the equation right now. So instead of fighting the discomfort, instead of engaging in those avoidance strategies, the distraction, the avoidance, the numbing, right? Foods, booze, Netflix, social media, the list goes on.
I don't know.
Is instead lean into the discomfort. Be curious with your discomfort. Be open to your discomfort and say, you know what? I'm going to surf the wave. Even though it feels like a tsunami, I'm going to surf it anyways because it's going to allow me to move through the discomfort with less struggle. And again, surfing that wave is getting into your body, getting planted into your body in a way where you connect to your breath and you center and anchor yourself. So that's tip number 2. And recap, last but very not least, identify your values and take action and live by them. We want to connect to our values right now because it's really all we can do. We can't control how our best friends are showing up, our family. If they choose to do what they do, it's out of our hands, but we can live by what matters to us and what we care about. And those questions I asked about how can you show up for the community right now? How can you be loving and kind and gentle with yourself? How do you step up for a friend? These are all questions that then allow you to identify what your values are. And then you can come up with a plan to say, okay, if I care about being a loving and supportive neighbor, maybe I'm going to bring over an apple pie to the neighbor that's a senior and can't get some yummy sweets, right? Like doing things that take action in a way that provide beauty in the world. And I think we can all kind of get grounded in that and find some inner peace through that.
Absolutely. I challenge people, if they are watching this, to go do that one thing in their life that they could bring that joy and beauty to the world. I'm going to do it as soon as I get off this phone call or this podcast, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, challenging ourselves to do that and really in the sense and mindset of from our values, because I think it's a necessary thing to do in this moment. I've been practicing it in the sense of just telling people how I'm grateful for them every day.
Yeah.
Really just trying to express, like, in my heart of hearts, like why they're such an important part of my life or what they do for me or how they bring me joy. And it's really a great practice. I really thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah, I want to just do a brief shout out. I don't even know if my folks are chiming in right now, but I don't know if the community knows I had major leg surgery on March 11th, right when this pandemic was blowing up. And my parents, they stepped up and they stepped up hard. They not only have taken care of me because for the last few weeks I've basically been an infant, but they flew to Colorado. They provide nourishing meals every day. They help me with Lily, my dog. So shout out to my parents for living by their values, and really making a difference in my world and allowing me the ability to have more ease in such a stressful time. So thank you, Mom and Dad. I really don't even know if they're listening right now, but I have to say that
Shout
because
out all day.
they're absolutely living by their values, and I think it makes a difference for them, and it definitely makes a difference for me.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I want to offer everyone this tip sheet. Here's the hard copy, but we will send you an email once you shoot either Eliot or myself an email. I'll say mine out loud, but we'll type it in the comments. I'm at Paulina at courageouspathscounseling.com. Paths is plural. So feel free to comment more. My phone number's, attached to the signature. I'd love to hop on the phone, provide support. And we just hope that this was helpful and useful for people, because I guess we're living by our values, Eliot, right? Giving mental health support to a community that needs it.
We're providing it and we're giving it to you all. Accept it. Enjoy it. Love it.
Yeah. Love it. Relish
Bring it into your heart. All of the above. We love you all, beautiful humans in this world. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Eliot Andre, the head therapist, is out with Paulie Siegel. Catch you all later. Holler at us if you want that tip sheet. We'll be around. Catch you later.
Sounds good. Bye.
Peace.